This morning, an urgent investigation to determine how 18-year-old Nolan Wells died on a boating trip with friends off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. As they await the results of the official autopsy, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office wants to hear from anyone who was on Horn Island over the 4th of July weekend.
Because how often do you see a group of black kids and one white kid hanging out with them and the white kid just disappears? This is not just something regular that happens, but this is something that has been happening when like the one black person in an all-white group happens to be the only one who has an issue and disappears.
An 18-year-old walks onto a barrier island with a boat full of friends on the 4th of July. By the time the sun goes down, he's the only one still there. Within 72 hours, his name will be known across the country. Not just because he's missing, but because of a video. An edited clip, an enhanced audio track, and a question that spreads faster than any fact ever could. Did something happen out there that no one is saying out loud? Investigators are working from a different set of materials, phone records, boat traffic, a search that lasted 2 days, and one specific window of time, after 4:30 in the afternoon, that, as of this recording, nobody has fully accounted for. You're watching Morbid True Crime, psychological true crime documentaries examining the decisions, evidence, and behavior behind real criminal cases. Nolan Xavier Wells grew up in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, a small coastal city on the Gulf. He graduated from Ocean Springs High School, where he played multiple sports, and went on to play wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College. He was set to return for the upcoming season. He would have turned 19 the following month. People who knew him described someone easy to be around. His high school football coach, Jake Bramlett, would later say Wells carried himself with humility and respect, and that his character spoke louder than his accomplishments. Friends remembered him as the kind of person who could lighten a tense room. On the morning of Saturday, July 4th, that ordinariness was still intact. A friend named Trace Carter spoke with Wells before the group headed out for the holiday. It was a small, forgettable exchange, the kind that happens before every trip like this one. Carter told him to watch out for himself. Wells told him he would call when he got back. The plan was simple. A group of friends, a boat, and Horn Island, a barrier island about 10 miles off the Mississippi coast, reachable only by water, popular for 4th of July gatherings. By the public account that first reached local news, Wells was last seen there around 3 in the afternoon. When the group's boat headed back to the mainland, he wasn't on it. The initial explanation offered by Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter was straightforward. The friends left the island without him.
Nolan Wells was on a boat. He left from a private dock area in the Ocean Springs area and proceeded with his friends to Horn Island. They left and went back without Nolan. From what we understand, he chose to stay there.
By the department's understanding at the time, Wells had chosen to stay behind. That was the version of events that existed for the first several hours. A young man stayed a little longer on an island on a holiday weekend. Nothing about it, on its face, suggested anything had gone wrong. What the public didn't see in real time was what happened after the boat reached shore without him. Wells didn't call. He didn't come home. By that night, his mother, Christine Wonsley, contacted the Jackson County Sheriff's Office to report him missing. She and Wells' father, Elmore Wonsley, would later describe those hours in stark terms on social media, writing that they were not okay, that they had so many questions, and that they were praying their son was alive and safe. The response that followed moved quickly. Just after noon the next day, the Coast Guard's mobile sector received a request for assistance from Jackson County. An urgent marine broadcast went out, and a helicopter was sent to search the waters around Horn Island. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources and the National Park Service joined the effort. Sheriff's deputies issued a public description. An 18-year-old black male, approximately 6'1", last seen in blue swim trunks, no shirt, sunglasses. For 2 days, the search continued across the island and the surrounding water. Wonsley's public appeals grew more specific. She asked anyone with photos or video taken on the island after 4:30 that afternoon to come forward privately. That single detail, the hours after 4:30, is the hinge the rest of this case turns on. It's the gap between the last confirmed sighting of Wells and whatever happened next, and it's the gap investigators still haven't closed. On Monday, July 6th, a National Park Service ranger found a body in the water off the northwestern tip of Horn Island. That afternoon, Wansley confirmed on Facebook that it was her son. By Tuesday, Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lind had confirmed the identification through dental records. The hidden timeline had caught up with the public one. What had started as a story about a teenager staying a little longer on an island had become a death investigation. Almost as soon as Wells was confirmed dead, a second story began moving alongside the official one. And it moved much faster. A video began circulating across social media platforms, reportedly showing footage recorded on Horn Island around the time Wells disappeared, with audio that had been enhanced or isolated. Online, it was framed as evidence of an altercation in his final hours. It has since been viewed by millions of people. As of this recording, investigators have not confirmed the authenticity of that audio, nor whether it accurately reflects what happened before Wells went missing. It is, procedurally speaking, an unverified piece of media under review, not an established fact. Jackson County investigators have specifically asked the public for original, unedited photos and video from the northwestern tip of the island, which suggests the circulating version is at minimum incomplete. The second thread running through the online conversation is about the makeup of the group itself. Photos circulating online show Wells among friends who are white, and that detail, a black teenager whose final hours were spent primarily among white peers, has become the center of a much larger argument playing out in the comment sections and group chats, not in any courtroom or case file. Asked directly about that speculation, Sheriff Ledbetter was measured. He said there was currently no information suggesting a crime had occurred, while adding that more evidence could still come out. Some of the speculation online has drawn a specific comparison to the 2018 death of Tamla Horsford, a 40-year-old mother of 5 from Cumming, Georgia. Horsford died after attending an overnight party where she was the only black guest among a mostly white group. Investigators there initially ruled her death an accidental fall from a balcony, tied to a high blood alcohol level. Her family disputed that conclusion for years, pointing to preservation failures at the scene and inconsistencies in witness accounts. A second investigation by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, prompted by national outcry, ultimately reached the same conclusion in 2021. No charges were filed. It's worth being precise about what that comparison is and isn't. The Horsford case and the Wells case share a structural echo that resonates online. A black person's death following time spent largely among white peers, followed by public distrust of how quickly authorities move toward an accidental explanation. But the underlying facts are not the same. Horsford's case involved documented, severe physical trauma, a disputed autopsy, and years of contested findings. As of this recording, no autopsy findings have been released in Wells' case, and investigators have publicly stated they suspect drowning rather than physical assault, with no confirmed indication of foul play. Drawing a direct line between the two cases before Wells' own evidence is in would be getting ahead of what's actually known. What can be said is this: the online conversation around race, credibility, and how quickly investigators reach for the least alarming explanation is not new, and it is not baseless as a pattern, but pattern is not proof in any individual case, and Wells' case has not yet produced the kind of evidence that would settle the question either way. Set the viral video and the online debate aside, and what remains is a shorter, more specific list of confirmed facts. Wells was last confirmed alive on Horn Island around 3 in the afternoon on July 4th. His body was recovered 2 days later in the water off the island's northwestern tip by a park ranger. Investigators have said they suspect drowning. They have said there is currently no indication of drug or alcohol involvement, though a final determination is pending toxicology and autopsy results. They have said there is no evidence at this stage of foul play, while also stating the investigation remains open and active. Trace Carter's brief exchange with Wells that morning has taken on a different weight in hindsight. It's one of the only pieces of that day that isn't contested, edited, or filtered through a viral repost. A friend telling him to be careful. Wells telling him he'd call later. It's ordinary, and it's part of why the silence that followed registered so quickly as wrong to the people who knew him. Investigators have asked specifically for original, unedited material from the island, footage and photographs from the northwestern tip, and any first-hand accounts of arguments, disturbances, or unusual activity in the hours after Wells was last seen. That request lines up precisely with the unexplained window his mother flagged in her own public appeal, the hours after 4:30 in the afternoon. With the body recovered and the identity confirmed, the investigation shifted from search and recovery to reconstruction. Detectives are continuing to interview the friends who were on the island with Wells that day, working to establish a precise sequence of who was where and when. The coroner's office is awaiting full toxicology and autopsy results, which will shape whether the drowning theory holds or whether the case moves in a different direction. The viral video is part of that review, not because investigators have confirmed what it shows, but because any authentic, unedited footage from that stretch of beach is now material evidence, regardless of who filmed it or why. The Wells family has retained civil rights attorney Ben Crump, whose office is conducting an independent review of the case and pressing for the timely release of records, witness statements, and autopsy findings once complete. Sheriff Ledbetter has asked the public for patience and has specifically cautioned against treating unverified social media claims as fact while the case develops. As of this recording, no cause of death has been officially confirmed. No charges have been filed. No suspect has been named, and investigators say there is currently no evidence of a crime. What exists instead is an open, active investigation, a drowning that fits every fact released so far, a viral video whose authenticity has not been established, and a family still waiting on the toxicology results that may close the gap between those two. Two versions of this story have existed side by side almost since the moment it broke. One was assembled in real time, online, out of a few seconds of edited audio and a set of photographs stripped of context. The other is being assembled more slowly, out of phone records, witness interviews, and lab results that take weeks, not minutes. Only one of those versions is actually evidence, but the other is the one that spread first, and for a family still waiting on answers, the distance between what the internet has already decided and what investigators can actually prove may end up being the most difficult part of this case to resolve. What's left for now is smaller and quieter than either version. A friend telling him to be careful. Wells telling him he'd call when he got back. He never did. Whatever finally explains that afternoon on Horn Island, it's the space between those two ordinary sentences that this case still has to account for. Thank you for watching Morbid True Crime. Subscribe for more documentary investigations examining the psychology and evidence behind real criminal cases. This case remains active. We'll follow up as confirmed developments emerge.
WLOX News Now Midday starts with breaking news.
Breaking news, a body has been found on Horn Island near where missing 18-year-old Nolan Wells went missing. Search crews like this one you see here in the air have been searching for him for more than 40 hours now. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Brandy McGill. Will Polston has been on the scene at a command post in Jackson County all morning as they search, and he now joins us live. Good morning to you, Will.
Hey, good morning, Brandy. We got word here just at about 8:45 that there was a body found on Horn Island, and the officials are now working on bringing that back. Now, as of right now, we do not have an identity of the. We're going to be updating you on our website at WLOX.com, but as of right now, a really somber scene as the family all gathered around, hugging and trying to enjoy each other's company during a somber time. Again, still waiting to find out the official identification of the body found, though. Reporting live in Jackson County, Will Polston, WLOX News Now.
Well, thank you so much for that. So Nolan Wells, he's also a football player at Southwest Mississippi Community College, SMCC, also putting out a statement asking their community to pray for his return.